The Irrational Confidence Podcast.
All right, Fresh, we got a national championship rematch. The Wolverines should be 3-2, but they're 4-1. Onside kick call right there. We'll talk about that one later. They're going to Seattle, Washington to face the Washington Huskies. Huskies are 3-2 on the year. Washington, though, a 2.5-point favorite. Over-under is set at 40.5 right now. You take a look at the Wolverines, Fresh. They've made the switch. Orgy's come on. He's been okay. Not really throwing the football. But again, it really has been the emergence of the Russian attack. Again, Donovan Edwards kind of taking a Robin-type role, a backseat role to Kalen Mullins there. And he's been the dominant running back. Fresh, rematches from a national title game from last year where pretty much both teams have been gutted from the NFL. What do you see for this in Seattle?
Well, this is first off, it's like a kind of a blend of Purple Rain and Sunday Morning Coming Down. It's two different styles. You have a wide open offense for the Huskies, and you have lethargic, rough Sunday morning. Take your time with it, slow starting, but eventually, a couple Bloody Marys will get you down, get you through from Michigan. Michigan, your pass game is atrocious, non-existent, and eventually it's going to cost you, and it's going to cost you bad. Loveland has 23 receptions. The next most receptions by the team, the person has 12. Loveland has 228 yards. The next highest receiving yard total is 69. The number two, collaborative receiver is Samaje Morgan, 12 receptions for 62 yards. That is your number one wide receiver threat behind your tight end. All you have to do, folks, is somehow buck up at the line of scrimmage and tackle in the running game. It's a lot easier said than done because Michigan's offensive line's good and Mullins has been great, but you just make them one-dimensional. Stack 8 in the box and tackle. Michigan cannot throw to beat you. That's how Washington has to get done here. This Michigan team, from philosophically offensive side, they're going to be very similar to what you played in Rutgers. Rutgers is very one-handed, run the ball, limit your quarterback and throwing the football. Here, same thing. Michigan, they're going to run the ball, and Orgy, he might run himself, but he's not the thrower. You have to get in there, stack the box, and tackle, hit every gap with authority. If you do, you'll shut down this Wolverine offense. I'm still shocked that Michigan, who had that game locked up 24-3, number one, almost lost but didn't cover. Like, that was terrible, but how quick, because they have no offense. If you somehow can shut down the running game and then get a couple lucky plays, you have them where they don't know how to respond. They thought they just wanted to get in cruise control mode and just coast it out. You almost saw the same thing happen with USC. They jumped out early. They went in cruise control mode. And outside that last 55-yard, 60-yard, run in the final drive, they would have lost to USC. This Michigan team has to play perfect. They have to play from ahead and run. If you can jump out on the lead and stack the box and force them to throw, you have them right where you want them. And that lack of passing attack, lack of balance on offense will eventually cost the Wolverines. It is kind of weird that Edwards has faded. We all thought he was going to be the number one guy. Mullins has supplanted him, usurped him, if you will. But Mullins is a legit running back and has moves, has speed, can change lanes. You kick it to another gear. And if he gets going, the Huskies are going to be in trouble. 540 yards, 7 yards a carry, and 6 touchdowns is pretty impressive. But in this game, he might not be the best running back on the field. Jonah Coleman, on the other side, 521 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, averaging 7.2 yards a carry for the Huskies. He had a heck of a year last year down in Arizona, transfers up here to Washington, has not missed a beat, and he is getting that offense flowing. He's actually helped Will Rogers become have more of a balanced offense and don't put all of it on his shoulders. And you've seen that kind of help them in putting that 3-2, which arguably they should be 4-1 themselves. Big chance, though, for the Huskies to get revenge. Obviously, very little similarities from what we had last year, but there's still players on both those rosters that play in that game. And I got a feeling some of those Huskies want some payback. If Michigan is going to win this ball game and continue to remain in the top 25. They're not a top 10 team, in my opinion, the way the AP has them there. Maybe name alone. That defense has got to come after it, and they've got to play a full 4 quarters. We have not seen that from Michigan this year. We did see it versus Texas. We did see a full 4 quarters versus USC. We did see a full 4 quarters versus Minnesota. And they haven't looked exactly great versus Arkansas State or Fresno State either. This Michigan defense has got to show up. And they've got to play a full 4 quarters for the first time all year if they want to win, because this offense is not going to win a shootout for them. I think them getting lucky versus Minnesota late kind of galvanizes them. And this is a road trip, which this is actually the first road game of the year for Michigan. I think the defense travels, the running game travels. Sharon Moore does just enough to win an ugly 20-13, 20-17 ball game out there in the Pacific Northwest. I don't trust the Washington defense yet to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think Michigan's defense with Will Johnson and all of them will still find a way to get it done and pull off the win. It will be ugly, low scoring. Take the under. It will not be the same explosive offense as we saw in Houston back in January, but it'll be a fun game nonetheless. And Michigan Wolverines improve to 3-0 in the Big Ten and continue to keep surviving and advancing.
Fresh, a couple years ago, I went out to Seattle, Washington, and they have this really cool museum out there called the EMP Museum. And it focuses on movies, music, TV, film, all sorts of stuff. And there was a special spot at the time when I went that dedicated to Seattle grunge. And I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed Nirvana's music. And the more I thought about this is a come as you are type of game. Nirvana's great song, Come As You Are, because the Wolverines need to come as they are all the way out to Seattle. And that is, just like you said, what travels? A defense travels and a run game travels. If you're able to run the football against this Husky defense, just like you did in the national title game, you'll wind up winning this football game pretty quickly. This game will probably get out of hand as well. And again, your defense, it's a solid defense. There's NFL talent on there. The Wolverines are going to be able to kind of frustrate Will Rogers and the Huskies passing attack. But I think also about another Nirvana song. And there's a great Nirvana song called Lithium that one of the lyrics in Lithium says, "I'm so ugly, that's okay, because so are you." And the Wolverines are an ugly football team. The Huskies are an ugly football team in their own right, especially for what they did last season. Which of the wide receivers for Washington is going to step up? The Wolverines are going to be able to shut down maybe one side of the field. Are you going to be able to, is it going to be Boston? Is it going to be Jackson? Is it going to be Hunter? Which one of these guys is going to step up for Will Rogers, become that threat in there? Because if this game turns into a track meet and the Wolverines are forced to play from behind, again, if I'm Washington, if I'm Jed Fish, my game plan, throw the ball on the Wolverines and get out to a lead. I'm running my best 25 plays in the first 2 quarters to try to play from ahead. Make them abandon the run game so I force Orji to pass the football a couple of times in this game. If that happens, Washington wins this football game. I'm actually going to say this, Fresh. I want to pick the Wolverines because of how well their run game has been, and I think this defense is really lights out and really good. But again, for some reason, because they're not playing in the friendly confines of Ann Arbor, give me the Huskies. I'll take Huskies in the points in this game. I do think it is a field goal type of game. Washington wins late in this football game, gets whatever type of revenge they want to talk about for last year's national title game. But yeah, give me Washington in this football game.
I think it could be mildly entertaining just because you don't know what you're going to get.
Right. We have 2 really great night football games, the Tennessee-Arkansas game and the Wolverines versus Huskies. That would just be fun football to watch. I don't know if they'll be like the best game. Yeah.